Have you ever stood next to a locomotive so rare that it feels more like a myth than a machine? Something so powerful, so unusual, that it shouldn't even exist. You might think trains are just old metal boxes rolling on tracks. But once you look deeper, you realize some locomotives were built to challenge physics itself. They weren't just transportation. They were experiments. They were statements. They were risks taken by engineers who believed steel and steam could change the world. And today, you're about to step into that world. Because these aren't just trains. These are the rarest and most legendary locomotives ever built. Some still breathe steam today, others vanished long ago, and a few were so extreme that only one was ever made. Stick with me because the final locomotive in this series is so unbelievable. It rewrote what people thought was possible on rails. Now imagine Europe in the early 1930s. The world is between wars. Nations are racing not just with weapons, but with speed, pride, and engineering. In Germany, engineers were obsessed with one idea: going faster than anyone else. That obsession gave birth to a locomotive so elegant and so advanced that even modern trains still respect it. This was the DRG Class 05. Built in 1936, it didn't look like a steam locomotive at all. It looked like a bullet made of steel. Covered in smooth metal panels, hiding its moving parts, it sliced through the air instead of fighting it. And when it ran, it didn't just travel. It flew. In 1936, one of these locomotives officially reached 124 miles per hour. That's over 200 kilometers per hour. On steam, in the 1930s, let that sink in. To this day, it remains one of the fastest steam locomotives ever built. Only 3 were made. 2 were destroyed during the war. 1 survived. Today, it rests in a museum, silent, but still holding the echo of a time when engineers believed steam had no limits. And if you think that's impressive, the next locomotive didn't just chase speed. It chased perfection. Travel back to Britain, where elegance mattered just as much as performance. Here, one locomotive became more than a machine. It became a symbol. The GWR 4073 Castle class wasn't built to break records. It was built to rule the rails with reliability and grace. Introduced in 1923, it quickly became the backbone of British express travel. When you saw one approaching, painted in deep green with gold lining, you knew something special was coming. These locomotives weren't rushed. They were refined, smooth acceleration, powerful pulls, and a presence that turned train travel into an event. The Castle class handled long-distance routes with ease, carrying passengers who expected comfort, speed, and punctuality, and it delivered every time. What made it rare wasn't just its design, it was its balance. Few locomotives ever achieved that perfect mix of power and beauty. Several still exist today, some even running on heritage lines. And one of them once carried the British royal family across Canada, proving that legends don't fade. They travel. But now, let's leave elegance behind. Because the next locomotive is pure brute force. Cross the Atlantic to the United States, where bigger was always better. In the middle of World War II, America needed machines that could move mountains, literally. That's when the Union Pacific Challenger was born. This locomotive wasn't designed for speed records or beauty contests. It was built to work, to pull massive freight trains across steep mountains without slowing down. With 2 sets of driving wheels and an articulated frame, it could bend through curves while hauling loads other engines couldn't even move. When it roared to life, the ground shook. Engineers didn't measure its success in miles per hour, but in tons pulled and grades conquered. And yet, despite its size, it could still reach speeds that shocked people who saw it run. Only a limited number were built, and even fewer survived. One of them, Challenger 3985, was restored and returned to service decades later, becoming the largest operating steam locomotive in the world for years. People didn't just watch it, they gathered, because seeing something that powerful move under its own steam feels unreal. But the next locomotive wasn't built to haul freight. It was built because someone asked, what if we only built one? In Hungary, engineers took a different path. Instead of mass production, they created a single masterpiece. The MAVE 242.001, only one was ever built, no backup, no second chance. It was a prototype designed to test new ideas in speed, balance, and efficiency. And it worked. This locomotive was light, fast, and surprisingly powerful. Its design allowed it to handle curves better than heavier engines, making it perfect for Hungary's rail network. Painted in striking blue and white, it looked more like something from the future than the past. When it ran, it didn't thunder, it glided. Passengers loved it. Engineers admired it. But history moved on, and no more were built. Somehow, it survived. Today, it still exists, restored and preserved, a reminder that sometimes the rarest machines are the ones that were never meant to be repeated. And just when you think rarity can't get more extreme, the next locomotive takes us back to Britain, where rivalry pushed steam to its absolute edge. The late 1930s were a golden age of competition on British rails. Two companies were locked in a quiet war. Who could go faster? Who could look better? Who could claim the future? Out of that rivalry came the LMS Coronation class. These locomotives were bold, streamlined, painted in striking colors that demanded attention. When they entered service, they didn't just compete. They dominated. Built to run long distances at high speed, they shattered expectations of what steam could do. One of them unofficially reached over 110 miles per hour, though the record was never publicly claimed. Why? Because sometimes winning quietly was smarter than provoking your rival. Today, only a handful survive. They stand as monuments to an era when speed wasn't just about time. It was about pride. And that pride pushed engineers to build things that still amaze us today. But believe me, we're only getting started. Because the next locomotive on this list didn't just challenge rivals. It challenged the end of steam itself. By the time most of the world was saying goodbye to steam, one country decided to do the opposite. While diesel and electric trains were taking over, South Africa asked a dangerous question. What if steam wasn't outdated at all? What if it just needed to evolve? That question led to one of the boldest experiments in locomotive history. The Class 26 Reed Devil. And yes, the name fits perfectly. This locomotive wasn't born from scratch, it was rebuilt. Reimagined, transformed. Engineer David Wardale took an older steam engine and pushed it beyond anything anyone thought possible. He upgraded the airflow, improved the exhaust, increased efficiency, and refined every detail that wasted energy. The result was shocking. The Red Devil became faster, stronger, and more fuel efficient than many modern diesel locomotives. It could pull massive loads for long distances while using less coal and water. And when it ran, it didn't sound like an old steam engine. It sounded alive. The exhaust blasted straight upward like a jet engine. The bright red paint made it impossible to ignore. This wasn't nostalgia. This was rebellion. Proof that steam could still compete. Today, the Red Devil is preserved, studied, and respected worldwide as the locomotive that refused to die quietly. But the next machine didn't resist the end of steam. It defined it. In East Germany, long after steam's golden age had passed, engineers assembled something extraordinary. The DR-18-201. This locomotive was never meant for mass service. It was built to test limits. And it did exactly that. Using parts from older engines combined into one powerful design, it became the fastest operational steam locomotive ever recorded. During test runs, it reached 113 miles per hour. That record still stands today. Think about that. No steam locomotive before or after has officially gone faster. Its massive driving wheels spun so fast they blurred. The engine screamed across the rails with a sound that witnesses still describe as unreal. And yet, it wasn't unstable. It wasn't wild. It was controlled, smooth, precise. It proved that even at the very end of steam, engineers still had tricks left. Today, it still exists. Restored, operational. A living record holder. And when it runs, it doesn't just move. It reminds you that the end of an era doesn't mean the end of innovation. But now, it's time to talk about size. Because the next locomotive didn't aim for speed or efficiency. It aimed to be unstoppable. If you've ever seen a Union Pacific Big Boy in person, you already know this isn't just a train, it's a monument. Built during World War II, the Big Boy was designed to solve one brutal problem. How do you haul enormous freight trains over steep mountain grades without slowing down? The answer was scale. Engineers built the largest steam locomotive ever to operate regularly. Everything about it was oversized. The boiler, the wheels, the frame, even the name. With 8 driving wheels in 2 sets and a massive articulated body, the Big Boy could bend through curves while pulling loads that would stall other engines. When it moved, the ground trembled. The sound echoed through valleys like thunder. Only 25 were built. Most were scrapped, but one survived. Big Boy 4014, and in 2019 it returned to life, fully restored, fully operational. Watching it run today feels impossible. A machine from the 1940s breathing fire and steam, still dominating the rails. It isn't just preserved, it's alive. And that makes it one of the most legendary locomotives to ever exist. But believe it or not, there was something even more extreme. Before the Big Boy, before practicality mattered, one railroad decided to build a locomotive that ignored common sense. The Pennsylvania Railroad S1. This machine looked like it came from the future. Long, smooth, streamlined. It was built to impress, and that it did. Unveiled at the 1939 World's Fair, it stunned crowds. People didn't believe something that big could move, or turn, or stop, and they weren't wrong. The S1 was incredibly fast and powerful, but it was also too large, too long, too rigid. It struggled on curves. It required special routes. Only one was ever built. And because of its limitations, it never reached its full potential. But that doesn't make it a failure, it makes it legendary. Because the S1 represents a moment when ambition outweighed restraint. When engineers weren't afraid to ask, what if? Even today, no other locomotive like it exists. And now, after giants and experiments, it's time to talk about the most famous steam locomotive of all time. You've heard its name. Even if you don't know trains, you know this one, the LNER Mallard. Built in Britain, designed by Sir Nigel Gresley, the Mallard wasn't just fast. It was history-changing. In 1938, during a test run, it reached 126 miles per hour. That record has never been broken by a steam locomotive. Not once. Nearly a century later, it still stands. What makes that even more impressive is how it did it. Not brute force. Not massive size, but efficiency, balance, aerodynamics. The Mallard was streamlined, smooth, and beautifully engineered. When it ran at full speed, it wasn't loud chaos. It was controlled fury. Blue paint flashing through the countryside like a bullet. Today, it sits in a museum, preserved and admired by millions, and every modern high-speed train owes something to the lessons learned from it. But speed isn't the only measure of greatness, because the next locomotive didn't chase records. It chased survival. In the United States, as diesel replaced steam, one railroad refused to let go. Norfolk and Western believed steam still had value, and they proved it with the J-Class, especially Locomotive 611, built in 1950. This engine arrived when steam was supposed to be finished, and yet, it outperformed expectations. Fast, powerful, reliable. It ran passenger service at speeds that rivaled diesel trains. And it looked incredible doing it. Black paint, streamlined shape, a whistle that could be heard for miles. When it was retired, people weren't ready to say goodbye. And they didn't have to. The 611 was restored. And today, it still runs on special excursions. A steam locomotive from 1950, still pulling passengers in the modern world. That's not preservation, that's defiance. And now, we're heading toward the rarest category of all. Locomotives that exist only once. Some locomotives were built in small numbers. Others were experimental, but a few were truly one of one. Designed for a specific purpose. Never repeated. And the next one might be the most mysterious yet. Because while others became famous, this one almost disappeared completely. And its story proves that sometimes the rarest legends are the ones nearly forgotten. Some locomotives were famous the moment they rolled out of the factory. Others worked quietly, far from headlines, until history almost erased them. One of those nearly forgotten legends comes from France. The SNCF 232 U1, built after World War II. This locomotive was France's last attempt to prove that steam still had a future. Engineers poured everything they had learned into this single machine. Better efficiency, higher pressure, smoother power delivery. The result was a locomotive that outperformed nearly every other steam engine in Europe. It could pull heavy trains at high speed while using less fuel than expected. Crews who operated it said it felt different. More refined, more controlled. But timing is everything. Diesel and electric trains were already taking over. Despite its success, no more were built. Just one. Today, it sits preserved. A reminder that sometimes the best ideas arrive too late. And yet, its influence lives on in modern locomotive engineering. But now, let's go somewhere colder. Because the next locomotive wasn't built for speed or comfort. It was built to survive. In the frozen wilderness of Siberia, standard locomotives simply couldn't cope. Tracks froze, metal cracked. Steam systems failed, so Soviet engineers built something extreme. The AA-20. This massive steam locomotive was designed to haul heavy loads through brutal conditions where failure wasn't an option. It was huge, powerful, and intimidating. Too intimidating as it turned out. The design pushed limits so far that it caused serious stress on the tracks themselves. Bridges suffered. Rails wore down. And while the locomotive worked, it worked too well. Only one was built before the project was cancelled. The AA-20 became a lesson in balance. Power without restraint can be destructive. Today, it no longer exists. Scrapped, gone. But its story remains a warning written in steel and steam. And if that sounds extreme, the next locomotive took danger to an entirely new level. Imagine standing near a locomotive that didn't just carry steam but fire itself. In the United States, engineers once believed the future of steam might lie in something radical. The Pennsylvania Railroad S2 turbine locomotive. Instead of pistons, it used a steam turbine. Similar to what you'd find in a power plant, it was smooth, fast, and incredibly complex. When it worked, it was brilliant, quiet, powerful, efficient at speed. But at low speeds, it struggled. Maintenance was a nightmare, and the costs were enormous. Only one was built. It ran for a few years, baffling crews and fascinating engineers. Then it was gone, scrapped. But the idea wasn't wasted. Steam turbines would later power ships and generate electricity worldwide. The S2 was ahead of its time. Too far ahead. And that makes it one of the rarest experiments ever to run on rails. But now it's time to return to Britain, where one locomotive became a national symbol of endurance. The Flying Scotsman isn't rare because only one exists. It's rare because it refused to die. Built in 1923, it became the first steam locomotive officially recorded at 100 miles per hour. It traveled the world. It survived neglect, bad restorations, and near destruction. Many times it should have been lost. But people fought to save it. Today, it still runs. Nearly a century old, carrying passengers, making memories. It's not the fastest anymore, not the strongest, but it's the most beloved. And sometimes legacy matters more than numbers. But speaking of numbers, the next locomotive broke them in a way no one expected. In Switzerland, engineers needed a locomotive that could climb steep mountain routes with heavy loads. Their answer was the Crocodile. Officially known as the C68, it looked strange. Long nose sections, articulated body. But it worked. Perfectly. It crawled up mountains with unstoppable grip. And because of its design, it became one of the longest-serving locomotives ever built.